everybody. Welcome to the Two Talk Movies podcast. I'm Drew.
I'm Cam.
And Happy New Year. We are here for, Cam, the last semester of me being on the podcast. Whether you decide to carry it on is completely up to you, but
Didn't even think about that.
yeah, this is the start of it. This is the last semester, so we decided to talk about a really not appropriate movie for such feelings like that. Today, we're talking about Creep and Creep 2, which is directed by Patrick... what's his name? Not Patrick Stewart. Patrick Bryce, yes. And it stars Mark Duplass, who is, well, he's pretty much in every Mumblecore movie ever made, I think. Which...
No clue who he is, but I wouldn't. He played the part way too well to not.
Almost like...
He is.
He's a creep himself. Yeah, it's almost kind of weird. But I guess, like, the cast is, as you're probably looking,
Yeah.
is highly minimal. It's kind of astounding how minimal the cast is and how, in my opinion, it is... I guess I'll explain this. I have Letterboxd. Cam just got Letterboxd. It's a movie reviewing app, and it allows you to put your 4 most favorite movies of all time. And I had watched Creep over break, and I had plopped that into my top 4 favorite movies right now. And I guess I'll kind of just start into my own opinions. I think the movie... I mean, it's hard to think now that it's only Mark Duplass and Patrick Bryce. They're the only 2 people, like, doing everything. Like, Patrick Bryce is the director. Him and Mark Duplass star in it. It's a found footage. It's a mumblecore, so it's, like, not, like, set up lighting, not set up sound. You know, it's kind of just bare bones. Whatever happens, like, improv. And, my God, Mark Duplass does just such a good job of improvising.
Yeah.
And because I think I saw an interview where it was, like, they only had, like, little, like, sentences of what was going to happen in the scene. For example, the bubble bath scene where it's what's it called? It was called a tubby. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, a tubby. And the only thing they wrote down for that scene was, all right, he takes a bath. So all the dialogue is, like, completely made up and everything. And I'm like, I find it crazy that, like, they did that and it's so good and it's so, like, actually creepy and it actually works in the way it's intended to. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a miracle, but they do it all the time. What was your thoughts?
On just the movie or that scene?
I guess just overall, yeah.
So I came into it thinking it was going to be like another Blair Witch kind of thing, just found footage, but...
Yeah, because that's the way it's, like, advertised.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like how, like you said, minimal it was, 'cause it only had the 2 characters, and then it did feel so genuine. And I think having the start of it being, there's 2 characters, Aaron and Joseph. Joseph is played by Mark.
If that's his real name.
Yeah, if you even know that. But I think having the intros of Aaron just, like, saying to himself, like, yeah, I'm going to this place, and that instead of just jumping right into it, I just like that part more because it felt more real. And I didn't know that it was all improvised.
Yeah.
Felt too real.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it because it's, like, you know, I've worked on stuff and everything, and improvising is, like...
Really?
It's extremely hard. No, it's, like, terribly hard to improvise, especially when, you know, like, if it's a scene itself and you're, like, improvise the scene, it's like, okay, it's just this small time, but improvising the entire thing and able, on Mark Duplass's behalf, able to create this character, create, like, stories around this character, but at the same time, like, playing such a manipulative, you know, guy where he's, like, preying on this guy's emotions.
Yeah.
And, like, to improvise that is kind of nuts. You know what I mean?
Do you know how long it took to make it?
Not long. I don't... It probably, like, 2 weeks. Well, I don't... Well, to shoot it probably took, like, a couple days. But I think, like, the whole process took, like, probably 2 weeks.
Like post-production, too?
Yeah. I mean, because, like you said, like, everything we watch in the movie, if it is in the same day, I believe. Like, well, granted, it might be a separate day, like, when they go out and hiking and stuff and they go to that restaurant. But, yeah, it's... Because I'm a big fan of Mumblecore. I know we learned about that in Drew Britton's class.
Yeah.
Shout out Drew Britton. But, and for those who don't know, I know I explained a little bit, but it's basically films where it was like a new wave in, like, the 2000s, and it's kind of died down a little bit going into the 2010s. But it's basically when filmmakers started just making films that were so like bare bones.
Yeah, it was dependent on like dialogue and plot instead of like all the special effects.
Yeah,
else.
And like characters, and it was just like improvising left and right, and the complete opposite of Oppenheimer.
5 awards.
Yeah, exactly. Creep. I probably didn't win any awards, but I don't know.
I think they didn't, but like
it's so like it's so effective for being something that like I could make or you could make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's so like I don't want to say low. I think saying low budget is such like a degrading,
like a jab.
Yeah, but it's like with having, like you said, such bare bones and not having a lot to go with as far as maybe like a budget. Maybe not the nice way of low budget, but I don't know. It felt like like you don't even pay attention to it. Like you couldn't even tell that it was, because everything's kind of handheld.
Yeah,
and the acting was really well done. Like you said, they have that manipulative thing. So was he kind of, Mark Duplass? Was he kind of an established actor before this?
He was, so this was made in like 2014. Him and his brother, Jay Duplass, they were basically kind of like the leaders of this new wave of mumblecore, where it's like every mumblecore movie, like Hump Day, Mark Duplass is in that, and he would always act in, and his brother would always kind of like, which is surprising that his brother didn't really have a hand in this one at all.
Okay.
It was just Patrick Bryce. But yeah, he was pretty well established in the mumblecore kind of thing arena of this. He's been in some more like newer stuff, but I think in an interview he talked about how they were like in Hollywood, they made Hollywood movies, but it just didn't feel like they had as much control. And so they kind of backed off and went back to what they were doing. But to answer your question, the complete roundabout way of answering your question, he was established in like the bare bones kind of wave that was happening.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I'm looking at it now. It says they're doing a Creep 3.
I can't wait. Like I literally can't wait for Creep 3. And we'll talk about Creep 2 like in, whenever we get done talking about Creep 1, but I guess I'll say what do you think? I thought the plot was perfect for the way they were going about it, cuz you have to justify this. If it's a handheld movie and it's bare bones, you kind of have to justify the fact that this guy is filming this guy, cuz like Blair Witch, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, just stop filming.
Yeah.
Just stop filming. Yeah. Like, you wouldn't be filming if this was happening, And they do a good job of kind of making the plot of this kind of explain that, where it's like, oh, he's getting... So basically the plot, I know we kind of jumped around there, but the plot is basically Patrick Bryce's character is a videographer, and he's getting paid to record Mark Duplass's character named Joseph, basically give videotapes to his unborn child because he has cancer. And before he's born, he wants to show who he was before he dies and everything. And that's pretty perfect, I think, because it's like everything that he films of Mark Duplass kind of have these long, creepy, yet like you just think he's kind of socially inept.
Yeah, like with Asperger's.
Yeah,
something like that, but
kind of like where he's not socially aware of kind of what he's doing and everything. Yeah. But he's acting very like weird. And it's like it works because he's getting paid for it, and it's like this is what he's supposed to do. So I think the plot really works, and it's hard to make plots where the character's justifyingly. Granted, the scene where Peach Fuzz, he's blocking the door at the end. I doubt you'd be filming for that like completely on him. Like I would be like down going like
I would have dropped the camera and be like, hey.
Yeah. We'll get to that scene, because that scene, I remember watching it in high school. That was creepy. Like, that was a creepy scene where he's just kind of like barricading the door.
Yeah. Man, being in that. When did I watch that? I watched this last night. Luckily, man, the jump scares were.
Yeah.
So, it didn't scare me, but I can understand if someone was scared.
Yeah.
I won't say it scared me, though.
I mean, well, okay, Cap. But it is kind of the point, though, like for it to be not like scary, it's like creeped out, but it's like just startled because he's doing that too. And I think it's so good to have Patrick Bryce's character behind the camera, because he basically is us.
Yeah, like first person point of view.
And I think that works well with kind of, which we'll talk about in Creep 2, how the character traits kind of get flip-flopped in terms of who the victim is. What do you think of, because I've been talking a lot, so what do you think of kind of Patrick Bryce's character and Mark Duplass's character, kind of how they interacted throughout, how they kind of carried the film?
So I think it's kind of so. Well, I asked this. I won't ask.
Mm-hmm.
It was very predictable how it was gonna go.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could be upset at that because you're dependent on the plot. So there's not much you can switch unless like he becomes a murderer. So there's only 2 people in it, so you can't even get too upset. Like if something like that does switch, or like if something like that does happen, because like there's only so many things that can happen between 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
I do think their chemistry was pretty good, and I wonder if you like read something or what's his name, Mark Duplass, Joseph's character, to like notice or like learn how to act awkward, because that was like really well done. Like the way the awkward silence that like kind of leads it, and especially at the beginning, when it's not towards, I think kind of like towards the middle, because the movie is pretty short, so it's only like
which we love. We love a short movie. That's the only reason we're doing 2 in 1, because these are such short movies.
Yeah, I think these total up to like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, perfect.
And they're not like hard to watch.
No.
So, and what's his name? Aaron.
Yeah. Aaron.
He was so like a chill guy.
Yeah.
Like he's like, dude, what are you doing? It like how he was his comebacks to it, just like so relaxed for some reason. Like when you want to leave after you're getting paid to do something, but after a while you have to be like, all right, let's just part ways.
Yeah.
What do you think of the scene when he put something in his drink?
I remember watching that for the first time, and I'll go back to before I mention this, kind of how Aaron is like, he does kind of whatever like we would do. I feel like in that situation, like some people, and I think it benefits off Mark Duplass's performances, because you're like, I would leave, but then the way Mark Duplass is kind of like making sense of why he shouldn't, and it's in such a convincing and like genuine way, where he's like, you can't leave, you drank. You're gonna get a DUI if you leave. Like, just stay here. Like, it's gonna be fine. He's so friendly.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, I can see why he stayed. And like you said, how it's gonna end. But I feel like the film does a good job of getting to that point in such an unpredictable way. And to answer your question about that scene, I like the one takes. I mean,
the
one takes in the scene is amazing. And that scene's immediately after, which I love that part, where he tells Aaron to turn the camera off because he's getting like really personal, and Aaron leaves the camera on, and it's just black, and we just hear this story, and I feel where he basically says, "Oh my God, this is such a weird story, improvised story." Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
it's basically an, I guess, disclaimer. I don't know if we ever do that, but
it's vulgar.
It's about a story that his wife was watching like animal like pornography. And, their relationship was kind of going like, bleh, that was kind of stale. And so Mark Duplass's character put the Peach Fuzz, which Peach Fuzz is basically, he tells Aaron it's this mask that Aaron finds, and he basically tells him it's what his dad, like, wore as a kid or something. It's kind of like a child mask.
I'll put a picture of it up.
Yeah, and creepy mask. And he basically breaks into his own house wearing the mask and, like, sexually assaults his wife.
I think that's a soft way of saying it. I think he said he raped.
Yeah.
He broke into his house, and she enjoyed it too.
Yeah, and then he basically said that after that, the like animal pornography like wasn't being on their Wi-Fi anymore. And this is obviously what sets off Aaron to be like, I need to get out of here. Like, this is like the definite, like, this is weird, this is not good, get me out of here. And like having it to be a black screen, so you're like, all you can do is just listen to the story. It's pretty effective, and it shouldn't work. Like, if someone was to say, like, we're going to have, like, it just be in black, it shouldn't work, but for some reason it does.
I think because all of it is in handheld recording that it's so understood. And I like the part where it kind of connects to the audio part. At the end when he keeps getting sent DVDs, and then you won't see the DVD, but you can hear it. And then when he gets that box, that was was cool too.
It's like stuff that's so simple, and that seems like, oh, we should probably do more if this is like a Hollywood movie. It's not a Hollywood movie, but you know what I mean? Like, people are going to see it. It's like, but it works how minimal it's told. And, Aaron putting it in the drink, it was kind of, I didn't notice it at first when I first watched it. I kind of was just like, oh, what's he doing? And then when he starts going, like, he drinks it, and he's like, oh, wow. And he's like, oh, that's a lot. And he drinks, he's like, did that taste weird, dude? And he's like, no. And then it cuts to him just asleep. And it goes into, there's so many moments in the movie where it's just like, you can hear a pin drop, It's when he takes his phone out of his pocket while he's passed out, starts
It's
putting his hand in his pants, which was completely weird. And he goes to the bathroom, and its phone rings, and he picks it up, and it's Joseph's sister.
yeah.
And
But earlier he claimed that he had a wife,
yes, named Angela.
Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, "This is Angela," and obviously Aaron's like, which it was kind of funny the way he delivered it. He was like, "What's going on?" Like
So yeah, because he's whispering because the other guy's asleep, and it's so you kind of forget that like, oh yeah, he has to be quiet. But sorry, cut you.
no, and that phone call is just so creepy because the way she goes, "I'm gonna suggest you leave right now," and she says it in such a nonchalant way that's kind of like,
That he's done it before.
yeah, and she knows it, and he walks out, and Joseph's just gone, and you're like, oh God, and we had that weird jump scare where he just pops up and kind of like starts crying and hugging him, and then he's like, "I talked to your wife Angela," and he's like, you're like, oh, and he
sprints.
yeah.
Like, this is the scene. They're outside talking, and he sprints outside. No, he sprints to the door, and he puts the mask back on.
and blocks Aaron's way of like getting out and going to his car, and then he starts like growling at him and everything, and I mean, I don't know, that scene is kind of like the scene that like is so creepy to me because it's just like it cuts him, he's just silent, he's just against that. It's such a weird, inhumane kind of thing to see. I guess I'll ask you, did you kind of, back to Mark Duplass's performance and the character itself, did you kind of notice those inconsistencies with his character, like his stories as they were going on? Like, because there's a couple, there's not a lot, but like I didn't know if you picked up on any of them.
Inconsistencies in his story. Yeah, the wife he was having, the son.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't.
Well, I think there's one that I can think of. It's when he's in the restaurant because he's like, yeah,
Oh, about the food.
yeah,
He said, yeah, he was looking like, what do they have here?
yeah, and he
Yeah.
goes, "It's the pancakes, right?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." It's like it's minimal, and you're kind of just like little things that you can kind of, if you were hyper analyzing his behavior, you're like, he's lying.
Mhm.
But I think Aaron's supposed to be stupid. Like he's supposed to be that kind of like
Okay,
too forgiving. Like he's too forgiving to, like, he looks for the good in people, I think.
that's a good segue into the ending of the movie.
Yes.
That was.
Yeah, thank you. Jeez. And I guess because you mentioned how like because we're kind of just walking through the plot at this point.
I think this is our most structured episode.
Yeah, honestly, we're like going through because it's so short, it's so easy to kind of follow.
Yeah.
So Aaron escapes. Like he runs into him and it cuts. And Aaron, which a very good segue in the movie. As soon as it cuts to black during in the middle of the scuffle, it cuts to Joseph carrying dead garbage bags.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Like if this is your first time watching, you're like, oh my God, like he killed them. And then it cuts or it zooms out and it's Aaron filming a videotape that Joseph sent to him. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Like that's
Yeah, and I think they did that in the second one too. No. They did it a couple times in this first one.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. And it's such a misdirect. And then basically the film, I like how the film kind of, and I'll ask you, did you like how the film kind of cut not halfway through, but a little halfway through when it's like now Aaron getting these weird things back at his house? Was it refreshing to see that change in location?
No, because they were kind of in the same spot. It was him like doing kind of like a video log of him like I keep getting these weird things. Like he was either in his bed at night or he was on the couch. So I didn't have a problem with it, but like answering your question, like I liked it better when he was moving around and stuff.
Did you think that, would you have liked it better if it was all at Joseph's house longer? Or did you like how the movie now shifted towards Aaron's point of view after the fact, and now it's like Joseph being unseen is now stalking him and everything? Did you like that aspect of it?
I like that part. Yeah, I think so. I didn't have a problem with how the location kind of
The
switched.
visually, it was a lot less movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that did the shaky handheld camera like make like you uneasy? I only think of it because my mom, she watched Blair Witch and she said that like made her stomach hurt because of how much they were.
I don't think in this movie, I think since the plot makes it more diary-esque,
Okay.
so it's a lot more like sit down talking, kind of more interview style. It didn't affect me a lot. It didn't bother me. After you watch Blair Witch, you're kind of like, I can deal with this, you know? But what do you think of kind of that scene where he finds the heart inside the teddy bear? That's
That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like,
ugh,
he digs for that context. He like gives him a box with a knife,
a bear.
a bear. No, it was a wolf.
Oh yeah.
And then I forgot his name.
Peach Fuzz.
Peach Fuzz.
Yeah.
What was the regular wolf's name? Like
Mask.
yeah.
It was Peach Fuzz. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then like there's a heart necklace inside the butt of the mini wolf.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to like just go in the bear's like or wolf's like butt and kind of like
Yeah. It was.
it was weird.
And he opens it, and it's like
It's a picture of him.
Joseph and Aaron.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a snippet of the picture that Joseph took of Aaron when he first arrived, and he tells Aaron that, and Aaron's like still wanting to stay, which I found to be like weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, that he calls the police. The police can't help, which I was like, oh, that's convenient, for the plot. And then that scene where we see Joseph in that doorway, the glass doorway, when he's like, with a knife.
Yeah.
Is anybody here? And then he moves, and Aaron's there.
I like scenes like that,
Yeah.
like when they're just in the background.
It's not revealed that they're the background until the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I think that the stuff with Aaron, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it might go on just a teensy too long. Maybe just a little too long.
I could get that because you get so much time with Joseph and you
Yeah.
have to switch to his perspective. But
And he's just a little more, performance-wise, more interesting to watch.
yeah,
And Aaron's kind of dry, I feel like.
I think they could have moved the part up when, like I said earlier, good segue when he was too forgiving. I think he could have moved the part up to spoiler when he got killed
Yeah.
up more. Maybe could have. I don't know. Yeah, I think he should have just moved up.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But like, how picky can we?
Yeah, I know.
Hour 20 movie.
I know, exactly. Perfection. But other than that, I think the ending, what'd you think of Aaron's decision to meet him?
Man,
Stupid. At least like call the police and say, this guy's going to be here. Be somewhere around, so if he shows up, separate. You know what I mean?
and in broad daylight
Yeah.
too. Like he get like hammered to the back of the head in broad daylight.
Or an axe, yeah.
Yeah. What'd I say?
You said hammer.
Yeah, but axe.
Yeah.
Dude, like he is like I keep saying like insane. That's such a bold choice
Yeah.
to make. And he just left him there. The axe was outside of his head, but
Yeah, he left him there. He runs away, and then it does a final jump scare, and it's kind of it. And it does the same. It does the same thing he did when he showed the body bags, where it's like Aaron's footage of him getting killed, and then it backs off, and it's Joseph, and I'm like, another like good, well done kind of shift in what's going on here. And he basically is like the audience where, and I think that I love the movie. It honestly, I'm gonna give it like probably a 4.5 out of 5.
Mhm.
It's so close to a 5. But I think the ending where he goes, why didn't you just turn around? Because Aaron's just sitting there and he's not like turning around, and you're kind of like, you're yelling, turn around.
yeah,
And then Joseph is like, why didn't you like turn around? And I feel like that's kind of a cop out. Like by them expressing that that's a glaring bad thing in the plot, it kind of hides the fact that it is
yeah.
by bringing attention to it.
I wouldn't have a problem with it because he kept going on like, because Joseph kind of emphasized how, well, for more context,
Yeah.
he sent him a video. Joseph sent Aaron a video saying, "Hey, I know we have like our differences, and we were kind of going back and forth. Let's just meet up and clear the air." And he said, "I'll be here tomorrow. You don't have to come, but I will be here so we can like make peace." And then Aaron goes, but
Oh yeah.
after Aaron dies and Joseph comes back sees the video, he has like that kind of devilish demeanor where it's like, why didn't you shouldn't have came, like why'd you even come here, you should have turned around. I think kind of showing that evil side of him kind of made the ending kind of better, because like, oh man, at the end of the day, regardless of what you say, you still can't believe anything that happened.
Yeah, and he kind of goes like, it's because you're such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Is why you did it. And he like applauds him for it and everything. And there's actually an alternate scene, because I saw an interview with Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass before we did this research. Wow. And it was them talking about like, yeah, like the ending that we had was like the one of 4 endings we had. And I haven't seen the other ones, but I know there's one where Mike's a little jacked up right now, but where Aaron sits down and he goes over, like, it's basically Joseph walks into frame, and instead of killing him, he just sits down with him. And that's how the movie ends, with just them sitting next to each other towards the thing. And that changes the movie completely.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think like he's just as socially weird. Like, he's just a weird guy that needs help, and he's not like a violent guy. You know what I mean? It just changes the ending completely. But obviously, there won't be a sequel if you end it like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the way they end it is effective, and like it works really well. But it's interesting how just like a small change can affect the entire meaning of everything. You know what I mean? God, I don't know. To kind of finalize our thoughts on this film, I think that it's honestly, as someone who like tries to make short films, it's honestly kind of inspiring to see people, like adults, filmmakers, making such good stuff with little equipment, frankly, little story, little resources, little locations, but like the way the characters are played and the story that gets like presented is so, I wouldn't even say refreshing. I think it's just so genuine. I think that's the biggest word to say for this is genuine, and like I said, bare bones. And I think personally I'll give it like a 4.5. It's 4.8 if I could out of 5. It's so close. What would you think? Like final thoughts of the film overall?
It was better than what I expected. I also think it's really, I guess, inspiring. I haven't made a short film yet, but I want to, and to like just know that a good story can be told with, like you said, such little resources and still be known by like many people. You know, you got us talking about it, and who knows, however many other people. And it is kind of like a big like top movie in mumblecore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, it's like one of the more mainstream, I think.
Okay, yeah. So like, you know,
like it's on Netflix. I mean, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed it, and seeing that I think can just provoke inspiration, like you said, into filmmakers. I would give it 4.5.
4.5. Oh yeah.
I know. I didn't expect to get I
did not think you were gonna like it at all.
Yeah, I really did. I didn't expect to give it that high. I make a list of like every movie I watch, I rate them, and then I was thinking like, man, there's like nothing I would fix about this, and this was kind of a good story. So those are my thoughts. So you wanna hop into this Creep 2?
Yeah, we can transition into the sequel, which was made I think 3 years after the first one. And I remember I watched it. I think when I watched the second one, it was like a marathon. Like I watched the first one, then the second one, and I was wondering the second one. I'm like, what are they gonna do? Like, how are they gonna, like, is it gonna be a new person that he, messes with and everything? And it's that, but it's not. And I like how they do it. They do a different thing with how the story is told. And I guess I'll just detail the plot. It's Mark Duplass again. He plays. This time he's not Joseph. His name is Aaron, which kind of weird.
You think he goes intentionally? Like goes after the name of the last person he killed.
Yeah, that the film kind of alludes. It doesn't allude. He just flat tells us that. And I guess to detail the plot better, we meet this girl named Sarah, and she's like a YouTuber who's like goes around and finds like quirky, weird people and kind of details what their lives and everything, kind of like a vlog style. And like Aaron, she sees like a little memo thing, like, hey, looking for a videographer, whatever. And being Creep 2, and after that first scene where he kills that one guy, which that's a good scene, by the way, kind of like brings you back into it, eases you into kind of his way of acting. And she answers, goes, I'll do it, or whatever. And it's Aaron. It's so confusing. It's Mark Duplass playing Aaron. So for the rest of the review, when we say Aaron, it's going to be Mark Duplass, not Patrick Brice's character, just to clarify. Which I'll probably just say Mark Duplass anyway, so it wouldn't even matter. But she goes there, and it's like a completely different character, isn't it?
Yeah. He flat out tells her, hey, like she tells her, hey, I'm a murderer. I've killed 39 men and women. Yeah. I do this, and he's just telling her exactly what he does, and she's just not believing it. Not saying like, oh, you're lying, but she's
so used to all these weird characters that she's like, this guy's just nuts. Like, he's just weird.
Yeah, and it's so like he's trying way too hard on so many different levels. Like he's trying to give her jumps or like scare her the whole time, and she's just used to all these like what they call them, like incel, like weirdo guys that just are odd.
I think it's a really cool transition from that first film because all those little weird, quirky like jump scares, all that stuff works so well on Aaron. Which is Patrick Brice's character. So now Mark Duplass playing Aaron, it's so hard with the names, but it's not affecting her. And you honestly see from his reactions, he's kind of like, oh, that didn't work on you? That works with all the other people
my victims.
Yeah, and so it kind of creates this cool parallel from Patrick Brice's character and her character in a refreshing way, I think, where it's now she's kind of combating his weirdness with, like, she's, like, indulging in kind of the weird stuff as well. You know what I mean? Like you said, he goes, I'm a serial killer, and he basically explains that he's in a midlife crisis where he doesn't enjoy killing people anymore. And I know I'm kind of jumping around on, like, kind of the plot points, but I'll ask you, I feel like that's a cool concept that they really, honestly, they full-heartedly didn't need to do to make money off this movie. They could have made the exact same movie, you know what I mean? But they chose to take the character and make it more of like a character study of, what if a serial killer hated his job? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a unique way to think about it. I wouldn't have been mad if they recycled the same thing from Creep 1 into Creep 2, but if they're doing a Creep 3, if this would have been a good way if they copy and pasted Creep 1 and 2. But I think she was a good character to play. I think she was weird herself.
Yeah, her character was, she was good. I didn't really, I don't know. I guess it's because I related so much more to Patrick Brice's character, and that was by design, that I didn't, like, relate to her character as much.
Maybe because she's a girl, and also because Patrick Brice was like the standard guy.
Yeah,
like
she's a lot more stoic.
Yeah, she has more personality to some degree. And she did I guess she did a good job. She made it believable that she was used to, like, this vlogging thing. She was expressing at the beginning how complex her and failing her YouTube. They described her as a video artist. So I guess just say YouTube. YouTube career is going.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like, odd things that happen, and she's still, like, being around. Like, it was a weird scene. He was like, it was at the halfway point of the movie, and he's telling her, "Get out. You're not. I don't want to kill you."
It's like, leave.
Yeah, and
leave.
She's just there, and he's telling her, he's saying, like,
in the hot tub. Is it when he's in the hot tub?
Yeah. Just what story was that?
Oh, yes. That's a great part. So to explain kind of what happens, Mark Duplass playing Aaron. I'll just say Mark Duplass. Okay. Mark Duplass, he takes her to do kind of, because he's in a midlife crisis, and he wants to do kind of his magnum opus piece, and he's using her to kind of film this documentary about him as a killer. And so he's in the woods with her, and this movie's honestly more of a comedy than I was expecting when I first watched it. And it's more, it kind of lets Mark Duplass kind of play more on his, like, comedic side, because he's, like, trying to do the video, the birds are chirping, nothing's working out, the lighting's terrible, relatable, and he just, like, gives up and has, like, a full meltdown. We cut back to the house and everything, and she shows up, and he's in his hot tub, and he's kind of just, like, at an all-time low. He doesn't even which, sorry, I just blanked, but, like, I will add that at the beginning, they made a deal. He said, okay, you're filming this, and in return, I won't kill you in the next 24 hours. And, he's in the hot tub now, and he's at his all-time low, and he's basically saying, like, get out, like, it's, like, you need to leave, like, everything. And I'm like, this is such a weird change from someone who was begging Aaron to stay in the last movie. And was like, you cannot leave, everything. But now he's like, get out and everything, and she refuses.
Some reason.
I mean, there wouldn't be an hour and 20 if she left. And he tells the story of his first kill, and it's like I don't even know how long it is. It's like 5 minutes, I think.
It was a one take.
Yeah, a one take of him telling the story about how he killed his first guy, and how it was basically a guy who was about to kill him and beat him to death, but then he, like, started killing him, and that's how he got his, like, start in killing. And the way he performs it is, like, perfect. It's so, in a one take. Leo DiCaprio couldn't do that in a one take. I guarantee he wouldn't have.
He would have overdid it. He would have started crying, and yeah, I don't. But then again, I love Leo.
I know, but I don't know.
Maybe not, because I don't think he's so used to, like, top tier,
like, very outward emotions kind of thing.
Yeah, Golden Globe, Oscar worthy type of emotion. This guy just did, like, hey.
this guy, Mark Duplass, should have won something for this. He should have. This movie more than the last one, I would say.
You think?
I think his performance was more nuanced in this one. It was a lot more complex.
Okay.
Because in the first one, he's kind of just he's a creep. Mark, make up whatever creepy thing you can come up with. This one, it's like he actually has a little character thing where he's depressed. He doesn't like killing anymore. He's frustrated that he can't freak Sarah out, and she's like being very like, like not reacting the way he's used to, and so it's throwing a weird dynamic in there. And I think just he's a lot more funny. He's a lot more. I mean, that scene where he's naked.
That's so early on too.
What it was that? I mean,
and then she did it too.
Yeah, and that's kind of the first time where you go, wow, she will do whatever she'll drink the lemonade and he will just, or the Kool-Aid. It's drink the Kool-Aid, I think is the phrase. But anywho,
I've never heard it.
Yeah. Well,
I was just gonna agree with whatever you said.
Yeah, I know. But I think, I don't know. I would say that this film is less, in my opinion, than the first one. I know we talked about before how we liked the first one more. And I think it's just because the pacing, it's so hard because this one's more of a character movie, but I don't think the pacing's as strong as the first one. It drags a little bit, and I think because Sarah's so easily into what's going on, it doesn't have that much of tension.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because they're both kind of like on the same page.
Wavelength,
yeah, and he's just trying to figure her out, and she's just there for the money and the pay. She doesn't really have
content, yes.
Yeah, she doesn't really have anything other to gain. She doesn't have anything to gain from Aaron except, just filming, which isn't even that much.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's interesting that she stayed, and it was kind of like a, and Aaron kind of mentioned it like a relationship type of thinking, and like a some sort of tension.
Yeah.
Because when he was given that 5-minute one take, at the end of it, he gives her a massage. She gives him a massage.
Yeah, I'm like telling her, I'm like, don't do that, please don't do that, because I think that's a turning point in the movie, personally, because I think that he, instead of kind of seeing her as frustrating, he kind of goes, oh, like he kind of like starts liking her a little bit, you know what I mean, like in a romantic way and everything, and it kind of shifts because now he's kind of going back to who he was in the first one, where he was kind of obsessive over her, over this person. And he's kind of like, oh, like this is the perfect person, everything. And I think, like I said, like a couple seconds ago, it was like a turning point in the movie that I think it needed. I think it was kind of dragging by that point. But I say it's not as paced as well, but I do find it entertaining just to sit down with him and just hear him talk, hear him like playing pool. And he talked about Aaron, like from the first one, Patrick Brice, my God. And you kind of get that vibe that Patrick Brice's character had like a very long lasting effect on him. He was like his favorite victim, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. He still kept the necklace thingy, and he gave it to a new character. I don't even think he said her name, Sarah.
Yeah, and you see the picture that like of Patrick Brice and Mark, and he's like, yeah, sorry, I didn't have time to change it out and everything. And he even talks about him. He was like, yeah, like he saw this axe outside my house. He saw it and stayed anyway. And he just talks about like, and they watched the video. They actually watched Patrick Brice's kill, like him being murdered.
Is this before or after they're in the woods? No. I mean, how far?
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
I think that's like before that.
Okay.
In the middle mark. Where
it does. That's the end of the wood. The wood scene is the end.
Yeah. I just think the movie kind of, I love it. I think it's a really good movie. I think compared to the first one, it jumps around in kind of its trajectory a lot, where it becomes him wanting to do this documentary of him being a killer. Then it's going to be him wanting her to video himself, like taking his own life for like a grand finale, or wants her to kill him.
Yeah, but he lays down in the
Peach Fuzz thing.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his name.
And she won't put an axe to his head and everything, and then he like tries to hang himself.
Do you think she would have? Because she had it like ready to go.
I don't think she would have, because I think that it wasn't until he tried to take his own life, that she was like, I'm out. Like that was like the turning point where she's like, I got to get out of here. And it becomes like back to the first one where it's like she wants out, and then he kind of persuades her to stay because he had like a harness on that.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know why he did that. It's kind of
like, what would he have done if?
I think he realized in his mind that was the only thing to get a reaction out of her, and so he did it. And now it's like a power dynamic. I feel like where it's like as long as she's like disturbed, he's kind of like on top, and he's able to like manipulate her, which he does to stay. But I guess we can kind of transition. And I guess I didn't ask you. Did you find it interesting that we had more sit down, him telling stories, which we don't even know are even true?
Yeah.
How we have no clue if any of these stories are true, but somehow they're so entertaining, and I could just take it at face value.
Yeah, I'd believe anything he told me, to be honest. And like you said, I didn't even think about, are these even true? I want to know more about like
him.
Yeah, like obviously not when he started, but like his sister.
Yeah. She never mentioned again. It's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, like came in for literally like 2 minutes in the first one, never heard again. I don't know. I really want to get like a prequel. So
I saw a theory on the internet that in the first movie, when Patrick Brice's character calls the phone and he calls his sister, I saw something that some people think that she was not related to Mark Duplass, but Mark Duplass had taken his last victim's name and his cell phone. And so it's this victim, Joseph, and he's calling a victim's sister. That's kind of what people think, because she's never mentioned again or anything. And when Mark Duplass like hears him say, I talked to Angela, he goes, like, he's like, oh no, because he realized he's talking to someone who could, call the police, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like, oh no.
Why would she be so
weird? That's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's true, because she's kind of like, I would suggest that and I guarantee it's because they had no plan. It was supposed to be this kind of thing that happens. It's like, oh God. But I think that's a cool kind of theory. I would be kind of like, oh, Joseph, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, he's there. Instead of like, I'm going to ask you to get out of the house.
Yeah, she didn't care that much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, back to Creep 2. I just thought that was a cool little theory to add in there. Did you prefer kind of the more sit-down conversation tone to this rather than the kind of constant eeriness factor of the first one?
I like the constant.
You like it? I do
too. On edge the whole time.
I do too.
I think this one takes away from, like you said, it's dragging the whole time. You only have an hour and 20 to kind of entertain me. So if you're just sitting there giving me a dialogue the whole time, then
I do appreciate the effort to make it more fresh, kind of a fresh take in a time where horror films are always so repetitive.
Yeah,
it's cool. I definitely think it falters in its plot in the way that kind of carries on a little more. It kind of feels like it kind of drags its feet in the end. And I guess we'll transition into the ending when they're in the woods. What do you think? I am very kind of...
I knew she was going to make it out. Something just told me.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts going through my head right now. There's one where I'm like, I don't like it because it just seems so... like taking it back, because the whole thing is like, I want to die. This is the grand finale. I'm going to die. He stabs himself and then stabs her, which, come on, you couldn't have ran faster, Sarah. Come on now. And he drags her in the pit with him, and they're going to die together. But then he crawls out and goes, I don't think I'm going to die today. And that's when Sarah comes out, which she should be dead. Let's be real.
She should be.
She got stabbed like 10, 12 times. Who knows? 15 feels like. And she takes the shovel and hits him over the head and escapes, basically. I just felt that was kind of a, like, really? He's like, I don't think I'm going to die. It's like so, like...
I think it's like cheesy?
Yeah, it not cheesy, but it's just kind of like stupid, in my opinion, because the whole time he's talking about how he wants to die. You know, they're going to die together and everything, and he's infatuated with her. And then he takes it back, and it's like... And I guess that's kind of... I don't know. I just didn't think it fit the character very well. I don't know if that's kind of I'm looking into it, not as much.
You don't think that fits Aaron's character?
I don't know. Because I guess you could say that it's because he's kind of... He likes the... This is going to sound really corny, but he likes the chase rather than the kill, if that makes sense. Like, he likes messing with them.
Yeah, I was thinking of... It's a good thing you said that, because I was thinking, like, he kind of had this Patrick Bateman and, like, Joker, Heath Ledger Joker type of thing going to him. Because he has, like, that smarter than you, but, like, demonic kind of killing person or traits about him.
Yeah.
I don't know, that just kind of
No, yeah, and I think that may be a reason, but like I just felt the end was kind of, and the fact that she's coming up and he with the shovel and he doesn't hear, and I've seen people talk about it on the internet where it's supposed to be a callback to when Aaron wasn't turning around the first one. It's like, why didn't you turn? Well, it's like you're taking probably not the worst thing, but one of the little nitpicky things I have from the first one and timesing it by 10 here.
And she takes her time with it too to get out. Granted, I mean, I know she's like been stabbed a couple times, but
she should be dead.
She was like waiting there, like holding the shovel and
yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of like and then it cuts to video footage of the city, which I don't like the decision that he doesn't like die with her and like that kind of the way that plays out. But I love how refreshing it is to be in all these desolate, empty places, and then now we're in like New York.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a cool, kind of widens the, like, well, it looks like it has more money, frankly. And then it shows Sarah like in a mass amount of people and we're following her. And we see her on the train and then she starts hearing his little song, which we didn't mention before, but he has like a little Peach Fuzz song and he whistles it to her and she looks up at who's filming the camera and we know it's Mark Duplass's character and it just cuts to black. I like it. I'm very and I'll leave you to talk about if you like it, but I'm very curious on what they're gonna do for Creep 3 in that regard. I don't know what they're gonna do. Is he gonna be like in the city now?
That'd be scary. That'd be more like a Patrick Bateman type.
I wonder how they would do that though.
He should be dead.
He should. He stabbed himself like 7th and here,
and then he got hit really hard in that. Yeah, so he should be out of there.
It kind of pushed the, what's it called? The of belief. It kind of pushed realism there.
I think this is just something seeing her like just walking amongst people. I think it's so I don't even know the word.
Jarring?
Yeah.
I love jarring.
Jarring.
He loves the word jarring. So why not throw it in there?
It's jarring how like she's literally just a killer amongst people. Like we all thought he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
No, we all thought she killed him.
Yeah.
And now she's just walking amongst people. So I'm thinking like if I'm outside, maybe not Charleston, but like Chicago, and just walking amongst people, like, wow, somebody here could really
and we don't know how long it's been since
that's a good thing too.
Like she's healed up, you know what I mean? Like she's like walking around after being stabbed like 8 times. So it's like it's definitely been at least like months.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say even a year? Because he had to recover too.
And like that's another thing. How would anyone have found him?
Have found her or him? Yeah. Unless he woke up and bandaged himself, it's like,
dude, that's not happening.
Because even if he went to the hospital, he had to give him a name, and he has so many aliases, and he's like, but yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do for Creep 3. I'm very curious. It's taken longer than the second one did to make, and I think it's because they don't really know how they're gonna play it off. Are you gonna stick with Sarah? Or are you gonna just allude to the fact that Sarah died and move on to a different character? I don't know. I don't think Sarah's that riveting of a character to carry on into the third one. I think we did what we needed from her to test his character. What do you think? Do you see yourself wanting to see her in the third one?
I don't think I'd want to see her. I think we should just stick with Mark Duplass's character. Like kind of like a Saw thing. Like you stick with Jigsaw, but you get new characters. You get new crew every time.
Yeah. Where do you think his character can go though?
Maybe to the city, bigger.
But like character wise, like because we went from like being a creep and now having this like kind of doubt in his mind about what he wants to do, and then realizing kind of, which that's also the ending. Like he wants to be a killer again. You know what I mean?
Maybe it could be a prequel. Like when
that'd be, well, how are you gonna make Mark Duplass look young? And you can't have another actor play that. Like you just can't. I don't know. I
think this one. I think there won't be the fall off for the series.
I hope not, because if they make it and it's good, I would say this is probably one of the better horror trilogies I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Which there's very few, because everything's always 10 or 1. I don't know. It depends. We'll wrap this up soon. But I think it depends on if they stick to their minimal crew aspect to it. If they go full Netflix mode, it's going to ruin it. It's just going to ruin it. But if it's like Mark Duplass, because Patrick Brice directed the second one as well. We didn't mention that. He directed the second one. Yeah. But he wasn't in it, obviously, because his character died. And I think he's working on the third one, obviously, because it's kind of his one thing that he did. I don't know what you can do with the character. I honestly don't know what you can do with Mark Duplass. I don't know.
What would you give out of 5?
Oh, out of 5. Thanks for catching me on my complete. Like, I would have just sat here for 15 minutes and just said nothing. I would probably give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, the pacing isn't as strong. It doesn't entertain me as well, but I appreciate the fresh kind of character study aspect that they did, rather than just like selling out and everything. What would you give it out of 5?
Give it a 3.5.
3.5.
Dropped a little bit for me. Plot isn't as I wasn't too. I wish there was more on Aaron. I mean, it was a good 50-50 split between the two, but towards like the middle section, it kind of focused a little bit more on the girl or Sarah.
Yeah. If you have a bad actor instead of Mark Duplass, worst movie of all time.
Yeah.
To kind of end my final thoughts, obviously, if you don't have Mark Duplass in this movie, it's terrible. So I think it's such a character and performance driven movie. But like the aspects of how both movies are filmed, it just adds to it so much more and gives it more of that authentic feel. So yeah, I would strongly recommend this. It's on Netflix. Both of them are on Netflix. I would strongly recommend watching them. We're watching Creep 2 in our class later this semester, so we can spoil it for everybody. Yeah, exactly.
Tell them to go watch this.
Exactly.
Watch the movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're not watching the first one, but we're watching the second one. But
yeah,
weird. But yes, that has been our episode over Creep and Creep 2. I hope you enjoyed it. We are glad to be back for the new year, and the last year, frankly. Let's just say that. But yeah, that has been the Two Dudes Talk Movies podcast, our first episode of the semester. I'm Drew.
I'm Cam.
We will see you next week for a movie. We don't know what we're talking about yet, but we will see you then.
Bye.